Yo, what's going on YouTube? So in this video, we're gonna dive into the support characters and see what they've got. This tier list is mainly based on my experience and observation in the game, which include my cross-server PvPs and my own testing with the characters. Alright, starting off, we got Venus. I'm gonna put her in S tier. I'm gonna be honest, I've hardly seen anyone play her at all. That's how rare she is. Almost nobody uses her. But on paper, based on her skill descriptions, she actually seems like a really good healer. I believe she's the only healer that heals based on the target's max HP rather than her own HP. And if you think about it, that means she'll heal a lot more on your tank, since tanks usually have a much larger HP pool. And every time she heals, she also provides an exclusive buff called Divine Melody, which is immune to anti-heal debuffs from Hagenugin or Orion. So basically, it's impossible to stop her from healing. And her true final form comes when she reaches 1 red star. That is where she becomes immune to control effects like stun, silence, and even energy cost increase from the Dark Team. But she's only immune to them before her charming ability is triggered. So as long as there's no melee character can reach her, she will remain completely immune to control effects. Her ability now can also remove all control effects and debuffs from your team, and gives an additional 5 seconds of control immunity. And if there's any of your ally is under any control effects when she pops her ability, their next ability energy cost will be reduced by 1. So on paper, she seems like the ultimate counter to the silence meta and the Dark Team. However, there is a counter to this character. Okay, let's look at the example. Now it almost feels like it's impossible to attack Venus with a melee character. Except there's one more character that can actually do it, which is Lilith. Okay, Lilith is a little bit special compared to the regular assassins, because it doesn't matter where you place her, she will always goes right here, right at the center of the enemy team. Right at the beginning of the battle, she will instantly TPs right at the center and then attack all the surroundings. Since she is considered a melee character, and when she jumps and uses her skill, then she immediately triggers the charm ability from Venus. And at this point, she is no longer immune to any control effects. Then you can use Silencer to silence the whole team. When she got silenced, then she is no longer immune to energy ability cost increase. So if you are playing Dark Team, you can kind of like just snowball the fight, slowly keep increasing their energy cost until she is no longer able to use her ability to cleanse all of it. Okay, so now the question is she a universal character? I would say yes, but she doesn't really provide any damage buffs at all. She's a very defensive support. So should you pull her as your first EX character? Personally, I do not think so. I feel like she's more like a luxury character. Like, it's nice to have, but not really necessary. She's more of an endgame character where you need every little tiny advantage to compete with other whales for rank 1 on the leaderboard. But for regular players or free-to-play players like me, I don't think you ever need to go for her. And with that, I'm gonna leave her at S tier. Next up, we have Caligula. I'm gonna put him at B tier. He's really good AoE healer. He has an ability that summons a totem to heal and provides an AoE 20% attack buff. He could also provide shield to low HP ally, so he seems like could be very useful in boss fights with his big AoE heal and attack buff from his totem. Alright, now is he a universal character? I would say yes, but I think the most suitable faction for him would be the Outer World. For each death rattle stack he has, his healing increased by 2%. So if he has max stack at 30, that would be 60% additional healing, which is a lot. Okay, moving on, we have Chiron. I'm gonna put her at A tier. She's an okay healer, but she does has a very unique talent where she will attach an orb to your highest attack character right at the start of the fight. And the orb attacks as the attached ally attacks. She also provides 25% attack speed buffs to allies that are in their wild state, and an additional 25% attack speed buff to the ally with the orb. So we are looking at a total of like 50% attack speed buff to the highest attack character in your team, which is kinda nuts. She seems to be really good in PvE and boss fights, where you just have to focus keeping your team alive and deal as much damage as you can. But when it comes to PvP, where people would use like assassins or specific characters that could target your backline, is not very good for Chiron, because if she dies, you will lose all of her buffs. So you have to keep her alive to maintain the buffs. Right, so is she a universal character? I would say no. I think she will be better to play in a green team for the 50% attack speed buff in wild state. I couldn't even imagine pairing her with Jing. Like, that would be insane. Like, Jing could easily annihilate any tanks in the game. Alright, next up, we got Hela. I'm gonna put her in S tier. Hela is pretty rare, not many players use her, but she's not as rare as Venus. Her ability is like ISO from Valorant. Both and the targeted enemy will be banished for a while, and when they return, she will deal a damage of 30% of target's current HP. She can banish any character except Artemis. She has a skill that can hook the furthest enemy and assigns your nearest melee character to lock on to the enemy. The targeted enemy also gets a minus damage reduction debuff, which kinda like reduces their defense. Whenever she attacks an enemy, she will mark them with the Grim Reaper gaze, and when your other characters attack on the enemy marked with the gaze, they will heal based on the damage and get damage and crit rate increased buff. She has another skill that would throw a lantern towards the lowest HP ally to heal. And if one of your character gets lower than 20% HP, she will yank them out towards her and provide shield to them, which essentially gives them a second chance to heal back up. As you star her up, she gets even crazier. She could further assign the nearest ranged character to lock onto the hook target, and if the enemy team has at least 2 more surviving characters than your team, her ability can banish 1 extra enemy. And when she reaches red star 1, that's where she truly shines. She will no longer banish herself when she uses her ability, only the targeted enemy will be banished. I think she would be pretty good in boss fight too, with her Grim Reaper gaze. So, is she a universal character? Personally, I think yes. Her ability only costs 2 energy, but I think it would be better to play her in her own factions, since she could provide more additional buffs towards Grey State ally and more Dead Rattle stacks to the Otherworld characters. Overall, I think she is super good in PvP. I don't have this character. I couldn't really test her on my own, so there could be a lot more things that I may not know about her. But for now, I'm just gonna leave her at S tier. I could be wrong. Okay, next we have the Aladdin girl. I'm gonna call her Aladdin girl because I have no idea how to say her name. I'm gonna put her in A. She's a good healer. As you start her up, she will have a chance to triple her skill effects, because one of her skill can reduce her own energy cost and the highest energy cost on your team by 1. So if she triple the effect, we are looking at like -3 energy cost for her ability and the highest energy cost in your team. So in total, she is reducing 6 energy costs. Lastly, is she a universal character? I would say yes, because all her skills don't really need her own faction perks. But I think there's one problem with this character. I think she will only be useful at high star level. The higher her star level, the higher the chance for her to double or even triple her skill effects. And for that, I'ma put her at A tier. Alright, next up, we got Titania. For Titania, I'm gonna put her in C tier. So she's a very typical healer. Like, that's basically what she do. She only heals. As you start her up, one of her skill could apply magic defense reduction debuff to the enemy. And that's pretty much it. There's really nothing much from her. So I'm leaving her at C. Okay, next is Ophelia. For Ophelia, I'm gonna put her in A. She's an okay healer, and her ability provides immunity to stat debuffs and elemental debuffs, but not including control effects, such as silence, stuns, and so on. But the good thing from her is her healing does not come from her main ability, which means you don't need to spend energy to use her skill. So you can kind of put her at the back in the ability queue. And as you start her up, when any of your character triggers the punishment effect, they will gain her sanctuary buff. And as long as Ophelia is alive, anybody in your team has sanctuary buff will get a 30% attack buff. So if you are using her in the dark team, where your characters constantly trigger the punishment effect, your team are basically getting free 30% attack buff all the time. So the challenging part is to keep her alive. But I think it's pretty easy to solve this. If you're playing dark team, you most likely go for Poseidon. It's a lot easier to keep her alive. So is she a universal character? I don't think so, because most of her buffs only triggers from the punishment effect. And only the dark team could do that. So I think she would be a lot more suitable in a dark team. Alright, next up we got Vivian. I'm gonna put her at S tier. She's more like a buffer support rather than a healer support. So right at the start of the battle, she will attach herself to the strongest character that are either in front or behind of her. Her partner will get a shield and a buff of 35% of Vivian's attack. So you're most likely gonna go for full attack build. Alright, so the key is her partner cannot lose this shield, because once the shield is broken, she will no longer attach to the character and can be targetable. So you have to use her ability to reset her to reattach to an ally, healing them and giving them shield and attack buff just like at the beginning. I think she is both useful in boss fights and PvPs. And lastly, is she universal? I think yes. She doesn't rely much on her factions perks. So feel free to put her right next to your main DPS. And for this reason, I'ma leave her in S tier. Okay, next we got Morgana. I'm gonna put her in S tier. She's not very good healer, but a crazy good buffer. She's a super niche character, okay? She relies heavily on elemental debuffs on the enemy team. So if your team can't apply enough of them, she becomes pretty useless. When an enemy is affected by an elemental debuff, she will gain 1 elemental stack based on the inflicted elemental debuff. Once she has 6 same elemental stack, she will provide buff to the whole team. But different kind of stack will give different kind of buffs. The fire one will increase your crit rate, while the shock increase crit damage, and chill increase attack. And the thing is, there is no cooldown on this. So the more elemental debuffs that you could do to the enemy team, the more buffs that you're going to get for your whole team. And if the enemy has evaporate debuff on, she could increase the ability energy cost by 1. So she is super crazy good, but also a very niche character. She only works with a full elemental team. But you gotta be aware though, some of the elemental characters, they do not inflict any elemental debuffs at all. Like Goran. Okay, next up, we got Silbismo. I'm gonna put her in S tier. Again, this is a super niche character, okay? She's only S tier if she met a certain condition, which is a full summoner team. If you are not playing summoner team at all, then you shouldn't even think about going for her, because her ability will clone the strongest summon unit in the field. One of her skills can summon up to 4 small attacking pillars like this, and their power is based on her stats. She also has a passive that gives permanent 2% HP and 4% attack speed whenever a summon unit dies, and it can stack up to 30 times. So the more summon units die, the stronger she becomes, the stronger the pillars. And I think the best character to pair with her is Loki, since she can copy Loki's clone. If she's with the right team, right setup, she will be really good in PvP. But I'm not so sure about a full summon team in like boss fights, because I feel like the boss can one-shot all the little guys, I mean the summons, which means you're gonna lose a huge chunk of your damage. But a full summoner team in PvP is a complete nightmare. I don't even know what character has enough AoE damage to clear them out. And lastly, is she a universal character? I think not. I think she's more suitable to play in the Otherworld team. And for that reason, I'ma put her in S. Okay, last we have Atanit. I don't know how to say her name. Or I'm just gonna call her Silencer. For those who plays Dota, we know. Okay, I'm gonna put her in S tier. She's pretty straightforward, just silence and increase enemies' ability energy cost. And she does have a passive skill that can apply Curse Domain to the nearest enemy, which increase the enemy's ability energy cost and reduce their magic defense by 20%. And all your allies gain 16% lifesteal when attacking the enemy with the curse. But this curse will be dispelled if the silencer dies. Overall, she's really strong in PvP, but completely useless in boss fight. In late game PvPs, it's all about whose silencer use her ability first, then follows up with their other character abilities while the opponent team is silenced, and slowly snowball the fight. That's how most of the PvP fights looks like in late game. Because of how strong she is in PvP, I gotta put her in S. And I think that's it for this tier list. Some of them are super niche, like Morgana, Silbismo, and Venus. Okay, so I feel like normal players wouldn't go for these characters unless you are fully committed and wanted to play the full summoner team, or you are fully committed to play a full elemental team. Okay, these are super niche character. Alright, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoy watching this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.